Do you have a cheap or budget microphone that just isn't sounding the way you would like it to? Well, unless you have an absolutely horrible microphone, you probably still can make great sounding music even with the budget microphone you already have. So in this video, I'm going to break down with you 10 tips for making your cheap microphone sound great and professional. Hi, I'm Reagan Ram with Orpheus Audio Academy. Now, real quick, before I dive into these 10 steps, I just wanted to share with you my rapid song finishing checklist that you can grab for free in the description below. And this will walk you through a proven step-by-step mixing formula so you always know where to go next when you are mixing, so you can finish not only more tracks faster, but produce higher quality mixes consistently each and every time you go to mix a song. Tip number 1 is to acoustically treat your room. So this means you put up acoustic panels or foam on the walls in your room to absorb sound so that you deaden the room as much as possible so you don't get a lot of reverberation or echoes or reflections in your microphone in your recordings, so that they sound as clean and pristine as possible, because that is a quality that's really going to make your recording sound amateur, is just having a lot of reverb or echo in the microphone. That is just screams amateur. So by having a very clean recording, it's immediately going to sound way more professional. Tip number 2 is to turn off anything noisy in your room. Now, this might seem obvious, but if you haven't taken the time to just sit, maybe with your eyes closed, and just listened to what you can hear in your room, you might find that there's more noise than you realize, right? Just now, as I was recording this video, I heard a car drive down the road. I don't know if you heard that, probably not. But depending on where you live, right, you could have noise coming from outside your room that are kind of loud, and you can't really turn those off. But in your room, there might be noises. Maybe there's a fan overhead. I have to turn that off when I record these videos. My room actually has a lot of stuff working against it. I've got an air conditioning return or handler. I'm not an air conditioning person on this side, on this wall. So this wall will actually vibrate, which is not great, especially since I have shelves. It can cause stuff on those shelves to vibrate. So I kind of have to continually move stuff around to make sure stuff isn't vibrating. This wall is actually a bedroom for my children, so to make sure they're not being noisy in there. And then there's also a laundry room on the wall behind us. So the washer and dryer aren't running when I'm recording videos or working on music. You're going to have these challenges when you're recording from home. So, right, there's some stuff that's out of your control, but as much as you can control, keep everything quiet around you when you are recording. Right, one past client I had, they went out to their shed to record because they thought that'd be nice and quiet. But then as I got the audio to edit, I realized it had pretty loud cricket chirping sounds throughout every single track, and I had to work pretty hard to clean up all that stuff, and it's not going to be as good when you are cleaning up audio after the fact. You want to get the highest quality audio in the beginning. Each step of the process you want to be doing to the maximum effort as possible, at the best quality possible, and that's going to result in the highest quality song as possible that you can get. All right, tip number 3 is to have the microphone back pointed to any noise sources you have in your room. Now, if I had something that was especially noisy in this room, I would want to point the back of the microphone towards that, because the microphone I have and the microphone that you likely have has a cardioid polar pattern. That means out from the mic, it forms basically kind of a heart shape in front of the microphone, meaning the back of the microphone isn't picking up any audio. It doesn't mean sounds from the back can't come into the front and be still picked up, but if you put the back of the microphone to that noisy sound source, it's going to reject a lot more of those sounds. So I've got a window behind me here, and windows aren't great because sounds can transmit through those. They create a lot of reflections too. I've got curtains drawn to help with that a little bit with absorbing those sounds, but I got the microphone back to that window so that anything that comes through, car noises, anything from outside, is going to be rejected. Now, tip number 4 is to keep your microphone off your desk, because, well, that's kind of harder than I thought it was going to be. If you hit your desk kind of hard and your microphone is on your desk, it's going to make a lot of noise. Now, I don't know if you're hearing this. I mean, you're probably hearing me hitting the desk itself, but you're not getting the microphone being hit sound, which is very, very bad. Very not a good sound. Very good language speaking here. I have this boom arm, right? You can get a mic stand, and then you have the shock mount here. The shock mount is designed to help absorb some of those sounds, right? Obviously, if you're hitting the mic, that's not going to be good. So don't hit the mic when you're recording either. That's not a good thing to do. So yeah, keep the mic off your desk as much as possible. You don't want to be recording on your desk, because any touch of that desk is going to send vibrations through the mic, which is what sound is. Really, it's just vibrations in the air. And so that's going to be picked up by the microphone, and it's going to make for a bad amateur sounding recording. Tip number 5 is to sing at the correct distance and into the right side of the microphone. So a lot of people, I've seen this, they don't actually sing into the correct side of the microphone that's designed to pick up sound. A lot of times I'll see people like singing into the top of the microphone, or maybe the side or the back, and you're not going to be picking up audio the way the microphone was designed to pick up audio. So look at the manual for your microphone, see where the front of the microphone is, where the polar pattern is, and sing into that side of the microphone. And you also want to sing at the correct distance, right? You don't, depending on the microphone you have, there's different distances to the microphone that are ideal for singing. So if you have a dynamic microphone, you probably want to get pretty darn close to that microphone because that's the way it's designed to pick up sound. Now, I used to run live sound for a pretty big church, and we would have speakers go up on stage, and they'd have these dynamic microphones, which are, ideal for live music because they're durable, but they wouldn't know how to hold them. They'd kind of be talking and moving their hands like they're talking with the microphone, and no one would be able to hear them because they weren't putting the microphone right in front of their mouth. And so that's what we have to do with a dynamic microphone. But with a condenser microphone, what you probably have, which is ideal for a studio environment because they're more sensitive, they can pick up more detail. You actually want to give yourself some distance, even, depending on how loud you're singing, somewhere in the 5 to 12 inches range, right? 12 is probably it's a little extreme. Maybe if you're really belting something out, really screaming out a vocal, but otherwise you want to be a good 5 inches. The way my mentor taught me is you kind of want to do the hang loose, whatever this sign is called. I'm not a surfer, whatever this is. Totally tubular. And you kind of measure that from your nose to about the microphone, and that's about a good distance. So right here, then, if I was singing, would be where I want to sing into the microphone. But it's also a good idea to not actually sing directly into the microphone. Even with this pop filter, you can get plosives and sibilants, which is not what you want. It's not a good sound. So you can actually just raise it up so that the microphone is at nose level or eye level, and so that your mouth is actually going below the microphone. And this isn't going to hurt the quality because condenser microphones are very sensitive. They can pick up a lot of detail. I can go and scratch on the wall in the back of the room, and you'll probably still be able to hear it. All right, I don't know if you could hear that or not because this is a more budget condenser microphone, but the really pro ones, you can hear it a lot from a far ways away. All right, tip 6 is to not move around a lot when you are recording, because if I'm moving around a lot, this chair is also squeaky, so if you have a squeaky chair, watch out for that. But if you are moving around a lot, you're gonna get inconsistent audio. It's not gonna sound great, as you probably just heard. This video is probably really annoying you right now. I hope you're still watching. Right, you're gonna be getting into the music, whether you or your vocalist, and so you're gonna be moving around a little bit. But even if you're dancing to the song, you still want to kind of keep your mouth in the same spot. The exception to this rule is if you're singing a very dynamic performance, you're gonna be getting very soft and then very loud. In that case, you might want to just have your vocalist lean back a little bit if you're gonna be increasing the volume quite a bit, so you're not going to be clipping and distorting the audio. Tip number 7 is to set the gain levels correctly so that you are recording at the proper input level of your microphone. So you don't want to be recording too hot or too loudly because then you can get clipping, which is also a telltale amateur recording signal. But you also don't want to record your vocals too quietly, as you're actually going to lose resolution and it'll be a lower quality audio. So a good average is about minus 18 dB, and you don't want to go any quieter than minus 24 dB if you want it to be 24-bit resolution. So that means you can go a little bit above 18, right, for those louder parts, and a little bit below if you're for quieter parts, but that's kind of a good average that you're going to be safe. And you don't have to worry about it being, right, it might sound quiet, but you can always easily make things louder as long as they're still at 24-bit resolution and still have it be high quality. But if you're recording too loud, you're gonna get that clipping, and there's not much you can do at that point. There is a tool, iZotope RX, I'll link to that in the description below, which does have a declipping tool, which is pretty awesome and can repair clipped audio. But as always, you're better off just recording the highest quality audio as possible versus trying to fix something after the fact. Now, tip number 8 is to use a pop filter. That's what this thing is right here. I have a metal pop filter here. You might be used to seeing those cloth ones that are all twisty. I don't really like those. I see a lot of microphones kind of moving away from those. Some have like magnetic pop filters, which is pretty cool. But you just want to have some kind of pop filter because that's going to cut down on those annoying P and B sounds. Those are plosives that are created when you have that burst of air coming out of the mouth. So the pop filter will break that up and help reduce those sounds, which are a really big headache to try and fix after the fact. Tip number 9 is to denoise the vocal. This is kind of, again, after the process of recording. Even with, everything we've talked about, you still are probably going to have noise in the background, some just room noise that's going to be in the mic. And so you can use a simple denoising tool to cut that out. The microphone you're using might also have a noise floor that creates just noise in the background. So you can use a denoise tool. Again, iZotope RX is the absolute best tool. I'll link to that in the description. And this is just a really awesome tool for any kind of audio cleanup because it creates a really awesome spectrograph. You can really go in and see with your eyes where the audio problem is. You can just paint it out, cut it out, and they've got a bunch of other tools that are awesome for quickly cleaning up your audio. But that is a little expensive, so if you just want a simple denoising tool, Waves also has a great one called Z-Noise. I'll also have that linked in the description below for cleaning up your audio. And this is great because even if your vocal, right, you might not really hear the noise yourself, but when you go in and denoise it, there is just an amazing difference before and after, especially as you start adding in processing, especially compression, where you're bringing up those quieter sounds. You're going to be bringing up the noise as well. So denoising your vocal is a really great idea after you've recorded and before you've added any processing. And then finally, step number 10 is to add EQ and compression, right? This might seem kind of obvious and it's kind of a post-processing step, but if you're brand new, you're a beginner, this probably isn't obvious to you. When I was getting started, I didn't really know what EQ was. I definitely didn't know what compression was. I didn't know why you'd want to use it. But these are tools that are definitely going to go a long way towards helping you create that professional sounding vocal from home. And so you use EQ on that vocal and you get it sounding the way you want. Because if you're using a more budget sounding vocal, you're probably missing some of the high end. Maybe you're missing some body. And so you can use EQ to kind of add that back in. And then also, it's another good idea to use a high pass filter to cut off the low lows of that vocal that you don't really need. Now, compression is especially important for creating that professional quality vocal because it is going to even out all the variance in volume in your vocal, make it much more consistent and sit more on top of your mix. In fact, if you want more help with knowing how to use compression to get upfront vocals that sound great and professional, then just check out my video on the screen right now, which is a step-by-step tutorial on how to use compression to get your vocals to sit on top of your mix and sound professional. So check that out if you want. Otherwise, drop a like if you found this video helpful and be sure to always keep creating.